This video, I'm going to be sharing with you the truth on reality, the possibility of life being a simulation, understanding what that means with the law of attraction, and how we can powerfully move through our life feeling empowered. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be explaining more about the idea of understanding that we may possibly be living in a simulation, in a form of virtual reality. Like the movie Avatar, when we saw in the movie Avatar somebody somewhere and then appear somewhere else, like the blue beans in Avatar. In a similar way, there may be other off-split parts of ourselves that are projecting themselves in different realities, and this may be one of them. And this is a very unique concept. I know that I haven't talked about this before on the channel, but it's nonetheless something that I've been authentically thinking about, so I feel like it'd be inauthentic if I didn't share it with you. And it does perfectly also bring in the law of attraction, and it brings in what is called a big theory of everything. Now, there's a lot of scientists that can prove, not prove necessarily, but their theories go around a couple little ideas that will explain a certain part of reality, but not the rest of it. Now, a big theory of everything has to do with understanding that this is an all-inclusive explanation, not just from me. There are scientists that have done this. I'm just going to kind of summarize what I know from what I've read and kind of what resonates with me, and then how I piece it together with other ideologies that I understand. Now, someone like Elon Musk has recently been quoted for saying that it is highly probable that we live within a simulation. And this doesn't have to be something that's scary. When people think simulation, a lot of times they think of like we're living in a computer. And in a certain way, there's information that is all around us. The information could be looked at as far as data streams or points. So in a way, a computer is a perfect symbology or a metaphor for us understanding consciousness in general, understanding who we are at the fundamental level, and understanding how we relate to that of computers and how reality may be kind of similar. So the idea behind a simulation, I'm going to use two movies because movies are sometimes the most easy to understand ideas because we've seen them, the way that it's wired us in a way to like relate to it in a certain way. Two movies. One, the movie The Matrix. The movie The Matrix came out and it's a cult classic. And not only that, but it resonated with so many people. Now I have this theory that when a movie really resonates with a lot of people in such a deep way, especially when it's not expected to do that well, like the movie The Matrix, a lot of times the emotion and the ideologies in that movie may strike a chord deep within the collective consciousness or deep within the people that are watching the movie. So some people may just watch the movie and go, wow, that's a really cool movie. But a lot of people in the personal development niche, a lot of people that are into understanding how we can better ourselves, there's a lot of people that loved the movie The Matrix because what it showed is there's ways of getting beyond the program of society, understanding that this like social conditioning we live in, we go to the 9-to-5 job, we do all these things. At a deeper level, there's a deeper understanding of how we can really exist in the world, how we can break out of those patterns, out of those type of programs. And in a way, the senses that we use are nonetheless interpretations of data. For example, we can hear, we can see, we can touch, we can smell. Those are all interpretations of vibration, interpretations of information. So to think that this is all that there is would be a very limiting type statement, knowing that our eyes can only see between infrared to ultraviolet, that our ears can only hear a certain decibel range. We can't hear the sound of a like a dog whistle. We can't hear certain frequencies. So it's about being aware of all of this, because when we become aware that we can only use our senses within a certain collective potential, and we can expand beyond that, of course, but it's about knowing that it's really such a small sliver of ultimate reality of what there could be. Now, let's talk about the implications of that, of understanding we may have logged into a matrix. And I've used this before, but the way that I think about this is imagine that you are playing a video game, and that when you're playing a video game, this is another analogy, a lot of analogies in this video. When you're playing a video game, what happens is you log into the game and you play as the avatar, as the character. And the thing is there's a certain way that you can be. If you were to die in the game, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because if you die in the game, you just start over again. You could just play again, right? Well, in a similar type way, if you're playing the game and you're aware of it, then there's a certain level of control you have because you can play the game. Now, at a different level, what we have done is we have logged into the game of life, of what we call reality right now. We have forgotten who we are at a greater level. We have forgotten our connection to who we really are, which is beyond that of the ego. We've identified with our avatars, thinking that this is who I am, when in reality, we are much more than just our avatars. And when we start to become aware of that, we can do that through meditation, through awareness, we start to actually gain more abilities. We start to become more proficient because we're in a way hacking the system. We're hacking the way the game is played because we're becoming more aware. Imagine the person in the game may think, this is who I am. Imagine you're playing Sims and the character in the Sims is like, I have free will. This is what I'm doing. But there's also a larger stream of consciousness that is flowing through that Sims character, which you could say is the choices of the person playing the Sims character. So what I'm saying is not that we're not controlled or that we don't have free will. I'm saying that we are both the character, and when we become aware of who we are at a greater level, we then start to expand outside of just the character. We start to realize that we have so many more abilities than we priorly thought because we are also the consciousness that flows through that of the character. So what this begins to point to is that we are much more than we priorly thought. That we have, in a way, forgotten who we are to log into here for the experience itself. Because if you knew that you could do whatever you want, there isn't as much growth as having to go through process and go through challenges. And that's in a way what we've done is we've logged into certain challenges, agreed to have certain challenges that we could work through to progress ourselves and to get better. Because that's one of the purposes of the game. It's to grow, it's to expand, it's to share love, it's to be and expand consciousness to understand that we are all connected. This is when we talk about things like enlightenment. It's in a way you kind of, I'm trying to think of a good analogy for it, but you become almost, instead of just the person playing the game, you become the whole game itself. That's what enlightenment is. And that's what we all have the ability to do. That's what Neo in the movie The Matrix did. He realized that it wasn't so much about, what he could do. He actually became the game. He became the one. And we are all a part of the one. And the one is a connection that we all have through the level of awareness. Now, let's look at a movie like Avatar. We look at the movie Avatar, and in the movie Avatar, you have somebody that is able to, in a way, project themselves into a different reality. And that is a very interesting idea because the movie Avatar, once again, was a film that was huge. And it resonated with so many people. Maybe people weren't like, oh, these blue beans and stuff. But nonetheless, they look at that and there's something about that ideology that I think really resonated with people. Just like the movie The Matrix resonated with people at a deep level, even though they may have not consciously said, oh yeah, we live in a matrix. We live in something almost kind of like a simulation. Now, this is a very empowering idea, but knowing that, like in the movie Avatar, for example, that they were playing a certain role, that there was certain belief systems which within the reality, certain way things were done, and there was more of a spiritual connection in the blue beings in Avatar than there was in the kind of the 3D world where they were just trying to get power, get land, and use the resources. You see, so it's more about understanding that we begin to really become who we are meant to be when we start to expand our avatar, when we start to see that there's other possibilities, because then we don't remain trapped inside the ego. We remain attached to the ego if we do something like that. And the more we become aware that we are beyond that of the character, beyond that of the avatar, we are also the consciousness that flows through all of it, and that there's ways of, in a way, hacking the system. Now, the law of attraction is part of that. Whatever you intend it to happen, intention is, I believe, one of the most powerful things we can use. the more aware we become of our intention, the more influence we then have over our life. But really, in reality, there's also this notion of parallel realities and an infinite number of parallel realities that exist. And I've said this before, we don't have to create our own reality. It's more so about linking up with the reality that already exists. So what if within the simulation, there are different data streams, there are different timelines that we could be a part of if we simply link up our emotion, our action, and our thoughts to that reality? Then there's less struggle, there's less trying so hard. And then we can actually be who we prefer to be and start to see the reflection in our life that we prefer. Now, there's another important part. This is where I was going with all this. There is a system that we are within as well that is a part of our consciousness, but the system in a way has a intention of itself. And that system has the intention of growth with all beings, with everyone involved. And one of the intentions of the system is to lower its entropy. Now, what does that mean? Entropy. Think of entropy as disorder. If you had a whole bunch of gas molecules that were inside a very big room, they would be all over the place. There'd be a whole bunch of fragmented parts. And if you were to lessen the entropy, you would bring all of them together and there would be more order within them. It'd be more compressed. There'd be more power there. Now, when we think about this in reality, one of the purposes of what we are experiencing is a co-creative experience with each other. And within this simulation that we've forgotten we logged into because we are actually immortal spiritual beings at a deeper level, or that's just, literally that's who we are. We're just dreaming that this is who we are. When we connect to that, we realize that what it's about, it's us growing together. It's us becoming more aware of who we are. Now, there's a certain collective will in a way. So sometimes we may desire something with the law of attraction. We may not be getting it, but ask yourself the question, does this also benefit other people? Because the more compassionate you become to other people, the more you start to change the way you relate to your environment, is the more that your life will begin to change, because part of the desire of the system is to lessen its entropy. It's to lessen its disorder, its fragmentation. When we are saying, I am Republican, I am Democrat, I am this, I am that, we are creating disorder and a fragmented experience. When we are helping other people to feel connected, when we are focusing on how we can feel similar to other people, when we are focusing on unconditional love with other people, what we do is that helps the whole entire system become more quote unquote orderly. That is one of the purposes. The purposes is growth, learning and getting through challenges. This doesn't mean that things have to be hard. It just means that we learn as we grow, we expand ourselves, and we also lessen the entropy, which means that we are able to lessen fragmentation and start to connect to each other at a very deep level, because like Neo in the Matrix, we are also all connected to the one consciousness that we are all a part of. In a similar way that we look out and we think everyone is separate from us, at a deeper level, they are connected to us. We may look inside of our body and see cells over here and cells over here, but the truth of the matter is it's all connected. Even though there might be a cell over here that goes, oh, I'm a separate, special snowflake. And that experience is meant to be had. But it's about knowing that it's also part of a larger stream of consciousness. Just like the potential that we live within a simulation, which is a data stream of consciousness that we've all logged into for a period of time, when in reality, we're immortal spiritual beings having a temporary human experience. We've just simply forgotten that we logged into it, because that's one of the purposes of the game as well. To remember through the veil that's kind of, in a way, keeping us in the Matrix, we've remembered. So in a way, part of the purpose of the Matrix is to wake up like Neo did. That's when you have what's called spiritual awakening. That's when you realize that life may be a simulation. But not a simulation that it has to be where we don't feel connected to our heart, like we're computers and ones and zeros. Although it is possible. It is possible that information is ones and zeros, but we interpret it a certain way, we give it certain meaning, therefore we relate to it in a certain way. But the main idea out of all this I want to share is, first off, it is highly probable that we have logged into this game of life for the purpose of spiritual growth. That there are many other games that we can experience in the universe. Some of us may call this more of having interdimensional type experiences. But nonetheless, it may seem foreign and weird to us now, but it's just a different game. It's a different game that we can log into because we are a larger consciousness than we can even imagine. We're just dreaming that this is who we are in this reality. And the more we become aware of this, the more that we wake up to being in this reality, the more that we become self-aware, the more powers and abilities we start to gain. We start to gain more influence because we're working with the program instead of against it. How do we work with the program? We lessen the entropy. We lessen the separation. We lessen the fragmentation and the chaos of feeling like everything is separate. We don't feed into the negative media. We don't feed into believing that things have to be so negative. By us integrating with the experience, by us viewing other people as another part of ourselves, as feeling connected to other people and feeling connected to ourselves, we lessen the entropy, and it has an effect all over the system. I believe one of the reasons I've been able to grow so much on this platform is because I have this intention of adding value to the people that listen to the content. And that helps to lessen the entropy, lessen the disorder that a lot of people are feeling in life. There's so many people that go around feeling like they don't have an influence over what they experience in life. They feel like they're not empowered to be having the kind of experiences that they want. And when you become aware that you do have that ability, that's when everything begins to change. So one of my intentions is to help people become more aware of who they are. And because of that, the information I put out wants to be shared within the system, within the collective reality. It's almost like the system is helping me because I have this pure intention to help other people. In the same way, maybe see how what you created in your own life, something you can add to other people, something you can help the collective consciousness in a way. It doesn't have to be this grand old vision, but by you being yourself and by you being who you're meant to be in life, you're already affecting everyone around you, whether you realize it or not. So it's about having that awareness. How do we create our own reality? Through our intention. We don't necessarily have to ever ask ourselves, is something possible? Everything is possible. Is it probable? You make it probable with your intention. Set more intentions in your life. What am I doing today? Realize, because when you realize that it's a highly probable that we live within a simulation, things become a little bit less rigid. Things become a little bit more flexible. Okay, there's a certain way I've been thinking. And because of that pattern thinking, there's a certain result that I get. Now, when we do the same things over and over again, we create from that same pattern. And once a pattern's been in a way brought through, it's normally that we stay patterned to that pattern. We stay consistent to that pattern. So it's about being aware of that and trying new things. Because when we try new things, we scatter the pattern of what we're doing, and then we allow for new things to happen. This is when I've said before that if we get into a new environment, we then can't go into autopilot, so then we're more likely to create a greater gap of distance between where we are and where we want to be. This is why doing new things can be so powerful, because when you get into the unknown, you can create something miraculous. You can't create the unknown from the same consistent data stream, thoughts that we have, because we can only create what we've always gotten with the thoughts that we've always had. I know that's kind of a stream right there, but nonetheless, that's what I think about reality being a simulation. I think that we've chosen to be here. I think right now there's a time on the planet when we've agreed to be in this simulation together so that we can all awaken like Neo in the Matrix and become aware that we're creating our own reality, or we're at least shifting through it. That there's more of a connection to the one, like Neo became the one. That's the metaphor for we are all connected to the one, which is the one consciousness that we're all connected to. And the only way we feel separate is if that we identify with labels. We say, you are this color, I am this color. You are from this country, I'm from this country. Those are perspectives, but in the actuality, they're just roles that we are agreeing to play. And we can let go of those labels, let go of the roles, and realize that we're all connected. And that when we do that, we lessen the entropy, we lessen the disorder. We start to then help the whole system, and we start to expand ourselves more than ever before. So One thing that I've done is I've created a very powerful meditation that will help you to raise your vibrational set point. Doing this will help to raise your consciousness so you become more aware of who you are rather than identifying with the quote-unquote avatar. So if you'd like, I have a free meditation that is in the description box below that will help you to do that. I recommend you listen to it for 21 days to get the maximum benefit out of it. And I will also, by the way, be doing more live Q&As on Instagram. If you want to have more of a one-on-one conversation, or you could either DM me there, or what you could do is you can join the live Q&As and ask me a question. And I'll also be doing live meditations there as well. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the little notification gear next to the subscribe button so that you can see the daily videos that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love, namaste.